Hey folks, Colin Gray here from thepodcasthost.com, and today I'm going to do a review of the Buzzsprout podcast hosting platform. I'm going to show you everything in Buzzsprout, take you through the whole process, see if it's something that might work for you. So here you can see the Buzzsprout front page. We'll just quickly go through the pricing plans for Buzzsprout, because obviously that's one of the most important things when you're considering it. They do have a free plan. Up to 2 hours, but it is only hosted for 90 days, so it's not really any use for a proper podcast. The episodes only hang around for 3 months, so really you want to be upgrading to a paid plan. But that's pretty standard. We want to be paying for our hosting anyway to make sure we're getting a good, reliable service if we're going to take our podcast seriously. They've got a good plan here, $12, 3 hours a month. That would last for most people. I mean, unless you're doing over 45 minutes per episode on a weekly basis, that should do the job. And you've only got $4 per hour overage as well, so that should be fine for you. If you are doing hour episodes every single week, then you might want to go up to the 18 hours. But even that, $18 is pretty comparable to most hosting platforms. But now we've got that out of the way, let's dive into the platform itself. So I do really like the way Buzzsprout lays everything out. It's a really clean, modern looking system. So really nice place to work and actually set up your podcast. This is what you see when you first sign up for the system. This is basically a blank podcast profile. You can see here it just says my name, Colin Gray's Podcast. It's not even the name of a podcast. Basic cover art. And you can see down here it's got examples of how your episodes might appear. So the good thing is it makes it really simple. You can see how much time you've got left. You can see how long your allowance has got to go. And all you do is upload a new episode. So let's upload a new podcast episode, see how that looks. So I've clicked that choose a file button to upload my file. I'll choose my MP3. So here's an old episode of Podcraft just to demonstrate with. That is now uploading. Got a really nice looking setup here. So while it's uploading, we can even put in our title. So I've input the title there. You can see the upload's complete as well. I want to put in an episode description just so that that's appearing in our metadata. That'll be our show notes within the app. So let's paste in the description here. That's a description for the episode. You can include obviously your resources and stuff. Maybe a URL, but obviously you can see from here that you can't make an active link, but you can still put a short link in here so that people could see it and then they could type it into the browser themselves. I'll have a look a little bit further down. Episode summary, so you can put in one little sentence that describes it. You've got your artist and your guest, so that can be listed too. And you can set the publish date. So if you don't want to publish it right now, you can schedule your podcast to be published some point in the near future. Then you've got artwork. So if you want to do unique episode artwork, which some people go with, we don't often recommend it because obviously it takes a fair bit of work to get that done every single episode. It's just another barrier to consistency. But if you do want to do that, you've got the option here within Buzzsprout. Then you've got tags and you've got the standard type of metadata here, especially seasons number and episode number. So that'll account for the new seasons-based formatting in Apple Podcasts. You've also got a drop down for the other new variable in Apple Podcasts, which is if you want to put a trailer in or a bonus episode or have it as a full episode. So you can set your seasons, your episodes, and you can set the type of episode as well. Finally, of course, you've got the explicit material. So if you are swearing, anything adult in there, click that. Make sure you don't get banned off iTunes. We'll click save, see how that looks now. And it'll show us a page for our podcast episode. So you can see the player looks nice. We've got the play button there, plays it off easy. You've got decent formatting for the description there. And if you did have an episode bit of artwork, that would show up here as well. So I do like how this looks. It's nice and clean, simple. Everything you need here, looking nice and modern too. And you've got some really easy access tools up here. You've got edit, share, delete, obviously. Now, the video sound bites is a really nice little feature from Buzzsprout that lets you create a 30-second or smaller video soundbite, which you can post to Facebook. So it creates a little video, basically with a clip from your episode that you can post to Facebook, because obviously you don't really want to post, well, here we got 45 minutes. You don't want to post a 45-minute video clip to Facebook. Nobody's going to watch that there. But a 30-second clip could entice people to pop over here and actually subscribe to the show and then listen on their phone. So that's a really nice tool that Buzzsprout have put in there. Just to give you an idea of how it looks, this is Buzzsprout's demo video. You can see that they basically create a kind of moving sound wave, so there's a bit of a visual behind it, and you hear your voice on top, or the clip from the podcast. So it's really nice. You can choose what clip, so you can choose the start point, and you can choose the duration, so you can tell them exactly what part you want to show in that clip. I think this is a really nice little feature. Really helps you get your show out there on Facebook. So back over to the page. Obviously they show the episode stats in here too, which I think is a nice feature. So you can see the stats for every single episode on the episode page itself. Now if I go back out to the episodes list, we've got obviously the one that I've just uploaded. So you can see some nice detail there, nicely laid out. Got the duration. You've got plays right here as well. So every time you log in, you'll see the stats, or the top line stats at least, the plays of that episode. I've also got a few easy to access features here. Got the edit button obviously, but you've got a nice share button here, so you can share straight to Facebook, share straight to Twitter. You'll see it's a pretty standard type of share button, just tweet out. As well here, you've got direct access to the stats. So I'll give you a quick look there, although because this is a fully new system, you can't see them entirely, but there's an example there. So I do like the stats, really well laid out as well. You've got the plays, you've got trends over time. So this is your downloads over time. You can see day by day, June 20th, June 19th, June 18th. So you can see the trends. You can see sources. So that's a really nice one as well. Being able to see what platforms people are playing your show on, proportionally. You've got, well, that's platforms in terms of podcast player, but you've got platforms in terms of whether people are listening on the desktop, whether they're on mobile. This is interesting in that you can tell whether people are listening a lot on your website, which is good to know if they are, because it means that if there's a lot of people playing it through your website, they might not be subscribing. You need to put a bit of work into making sure that people subscribe. That could be a good way to grow your audience. So that's why stats like that are quite useful. And then finally, you've got a few more around the different listening platforms as well. So the stats are really nice, really good information there. Now, if I click onto the overview, you'll see you get a list of the most recent episodes. That's quite a good way to see your most popular episodes. You get your average plays here as well, which I like a lot, because that's often what an advertiser wants. They don't want to know, that this episode got 345, this one got 225, this one got 300. They want the average plays over the last 4 generally, but you're getting an average play over the last 5 here, which is a really useful stat. Then you've got listeners. So they work out what they think your number of listeners are. So that would be the subscribes. And then you've got totals as well. So, you've got your all-time total plays. You can see when you hit those milestones like 100,000, 1 million, that type of stuff. And you've got this, standard types of durations like 30 days, 90 days, and most popular episodes too. So you can see what's working. You can see what kind of content your listeners really respond to. So I do like the stats here. Devices, we already covered that. Locations are the other one that people respond to a lot. You want to know where your listeners are. So, because it's always US focused, top cities in the UK, but you've got countries as well. So you can see that people are, majority US, or if you're a UK show or an Oz show or elsewhere, you'll be able to see that in there too. So the stats, I do like the stats a lot actually. They're really nicely laid out, quite simple. They don't go too deep, you don't have too much. You've got stuff that you can actually action in here. So really well laid out. Now another thing worth mentioning with Buzzsprout is their players. So a lot of people sign up for a host, rightly or wrongly, because of the player. That's why SoundCloud tended to get a lot of signups, even though it really wasn't a very good podcast host, but because the players look great. And Buzzsprout, I think the players in here look really good. You've got the default, which is the simple bar, but looks really nice, really slick. Once you've got your artwork in there, I think it looks really good. And you've got some social sharing in there too, Facebook and Twitter. You've got your RSS feed, and you've got a download link, plus all the metadata. I think this player is really nice. But then you get a big one. So you've also got one which shows a bit more of the artwork, bigger title, and it also shows your previous episodes. So if I had more than one episode here, I could have them all queued up there. So you can show this player anywhere, and it really lets people browse through your back catalogue really easily. It works really well. You've got the sharing buttons really prominently as well, and you've got the download and the RSS too. So I think this is a really nice little player, and a really easy embed for both of them as well, because they're just here, obviously right in front of you. Just pick them, copy embed code, and you can paste that onto wherever you want it to appear. There's also a few more details here, so you can show the 5 most recent. You can show all artists, or if you have different hosts, you could even show it by host. Similar for the bigger one. You've got tags in here as well, so you can actually go by season, say, or by topic. You can show most recent episodes around this particular topic, which is a really nice little way to categorize or to help your listeners to navigate through your content. Once you've got 100 episodes, navigation through a podcast is really tricky. But if you can show a player that only shows certain categories, certain tags, certain topics within it, really nice way to help new listeners find the stuff they want, to hook them in and turn them into fanatical fans. So next thing to have a look at is the website. So you do get a website with Buzzsprout, public-facing site. As you probably know, there's 2 ways to go. You can either use your hosting site, so use the Buzzsprout site. So you can see your site will be www.buzzsprout.com/108248. Doesn't really roll off the tongue, but it works. It'll be there. You could use that. Or you can use your own site. In fact, if you have your own domain, then you can embed the player from Buzzsprout using those embed codes I showed you just a minute ago. You can embed that onto your site. But this is available if you want it. And Buzzsprout do offer quite a few different customization options. You've got some nice themes here. You've got some flowery backgrounds. You've got some nice little textures. And this is what it's going to look like down here. So you can see you've got some planar backgrounds, some nice leaves there. I'm going to upload some artwork quickly so that you can see how this might look. Just give me 1 second. Now, interestingly, popped in here to do that cover art, but it's worthwhile showing you the setup, actually. This is the podcast settings. Show you how easy it is to set up your podcast in the first place, because often this is the bit that confuses people. So there's a few things to go in here. You've got your podcast title, obviously the name of your podcast. We've got the Podcraft podcast. I'm pretending I set up Podcraft in here. And you might do a subtitle as well. So that's what we often recommend. You've got the title, short and snappy, and then a subtitle to give a bit more explanation. Got a podcast description. You probably put a bit more in there. Tell people who this show's for, what problem you're solving, why you're uniquely served to solve it, and why they should listen. Then we've got the artwork. So just choose file. I uploaded the file there. So simple enough there. Then you've got categories. So for me, I'd go business management for Podcraft. We've got, usually there's a podcasting category now as well. So technology podcasting and maybe some, education training, that would do. Episode limit. So if you do want to limit it, if you take off, if you only show the most recent 30 and then monetize the back catalogue, then you can do that. Otherwise, you show all episodes. That would be the normal one. Language. Choose whatever language you want. Artist is just the host. Podcast type is to do with those new iTunes, Apple Podcast settings. If it's episodic, if you just want to show the episodes, 1 to however many, you want episodic. But if you do want to show the seasons, the serial podcast type, then change it over to serial. Podcraft is actually serial, so let's put that. And then you would have the URL, podcraft.net. And then you've got your contact email address, finally some keywords. So that's it. That is really all the podcast details that you need to put in, and that's your podcast set up. That's all the stuff that will show up in iTunes or Apple Podcasts. So if I go back to the front page now, go to episodes, you'll see that cover art's there now. You've got the title up there properly too. And if I go to website, which is what I was showing you, you'll see that appears on the website. So we've got the description, we've got the title, URL to the main website as well. So you can link off to your main website. And the cover art, so I think that looks really good. So it's nice and simple, nothing too much here. You can link off to your own complex website, but this is great for people who don't want to bother with setting up their own website. This does the trick perfectly. Most podcast hosts offer this, obviously. Most podcast hosts will give you a website with the setup, but they vary in terms of how customizable they are, how you can make them look, the different themes. So I think Buzzsprout's pretty good in terms of it keeps it quite simple. There's not a whole lot of options here, but it looks good. It looks nice and clean. So definitely a lot of options here. Again, you can upload your own background images. You've got custom Buzzsprout web address. Forgot about that. So yeah, you can change that that code. So I could make this podcraft.buzzsprout instead. Save changes, and that would make it much more memorable. So you can make it yourpodcast.buzzsprout.com, and that makes it much more easy. If you do have a bit of technical knowledge, you can actually set it under your main domain as well. So the Buzzsprout site would come under podcast.yourdomain.com. So if we put that on the podcasthost.com, we could have a Buzzsprout site sitting at podcast.thepodcasthost.com, and it looks much more branded. It's under your site. So you can set that up. If you can set up CNAME records, you'll find instructions for that elsewhere. Looks like there even. That's just a wee technical thing you do with your DNS, but it's useful to be able to do that. So that's the Buzzsprout websites. Again, I like the way they're set up, nice and simple. Good mobile site there as well. So worth knowing that that's there. Now, one of the last things I'll cover here is iTunes and other directories. So iTunes, now called Apple Podcasts, of course, and they've got good instructions here on how you get your show into iTunes, into Apple Podcasts. Go through the stats that you need in there, the data you need in there, and then they've got a submit to iTunes button. Now what that'll do is it'll take you off to Podcasts Connect. You can see the link in the bottom there. So it's not like they'll do it automatically, but they'll link you off to the right place in the Apple ecosystem where you can submit your podcast. So here's where it is. You would log in here and then you would submit your show that way. Back over here, they show you good instructions here as well, how it works. So you've got your URL there, how to submit. So Buzzsprout guides you through it really nicely. And you can paste in your iTunes URL here as well for use on the website and elsewhere within your Buzzsprout account. So that's nice and simple to help you through that. Then you've got the other ones as well. So you've got Stitcher, one of the other really popular directories. So it helps you create a Stitcher account, gives you the instructions, shows you your RSS feed URL. That's obviously the one you apply to iTunes and Stitcher or anywhere else you're looking to submit the podcast. And then you've also got Google Play, how to submit it to Google Play Music. And then you've got your RSS feed as well. So the RSS feed, this is just a simple log of where your RSS feed is, and this is the one you submit to any directory that you submit it to. Now, it's not listed here, but I did see Buzzsprout announce that they can now get podcasts into Spotify as well. So that's interesting. So you should get in touch with the Buzzsprout support team and they'll help you through that process as well. Moving along, last couple of things. Like I said, we've gone through the settings, we've gone through stats. So that's covered it really. That's the whole thing. That is the Buzzsprout platform. I hope that's given you a good idea of what Buzzsprout looks like in the background, whether it's something that might suit you. But I think Buzzsprout really suits people who just want a nice, simple, clean way to run a podcast, especially if you need a website to run it from. So the Buzzsprout one's nice and clean, nice and simple, looks really good. The players are excellent as well. So if you want to have your own website on Buzzsprout, I think they're great for that. Especially for beginners, they just guide you through it so simply. So if you're new to the podcasting game, this could work really well for you. And if you're willing to embed, if you have your own website, sometimes I would say there's other options that make the workflow more easy. If you have your own website, by all means, look at our podcast hosting article. You can find that over at thepodcasthost.com/hosting. You'll find that there. That'll take you through all of the different podcast hosts that we recommend. So if you do have your own website and you want to embed your podcast into your own website rather than elsewhere, then there are possibly other options that could make your workflow easier and that you don't have to go off to the host to upload it. So have a look there for that info. But if you don't need to do that and you're happy to use the Buzzsprout players, embed them using the embed code, then I do think they're really good looking little players. So well worth having a look at Buzzsprout as well. They make it so simple too. I just like the fact that they go with hours rather than megabytes. Just makes it so much more clear. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. I hope that gave you an idea of whether Buzzsprout is the platform for you, showed you what's there. Thanks again for watching. Again, if you want to go and look at our full list of podcast hosting reviews, be able to look through all the different options, including Buzzsprout, then pop over to thepodcasthost.com/hosting. I'll see you there, and I'll see you in the next video.